with the municipal safety share, Councillor Hatton.
So this safety share is about winter driving tips for Ontario drivers. Check your vehicle, plan ahead, and use your judgment. Be prepared, slow down, stay alert and in control. Share the road and watch for the snowplows, and please obey road closures.
That was pretty quick, thank you very much. I didn't have time to drink my water there. You really had very much Cole's notes for that, thank you. Okay, going into the agenda, any additions or deletions to the agenda this evening? Hearing none. I do have a motion that the council hereby accepts the agenda for Monday, November 25th, 2019 as regular meeting of council as circulated amended. Moved by Councillor Fallon, second by Councillor Lake. All in favor? Carried, thank you. Any disclosure of interest? Hearing none, I have a motion here that council hereby adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council were held on Tuesday, November 12th, 2019, and the closed meeting of council was held on Tuesday, November 12th, 2019 as circulated amended. Moved by Councillor Zingerich, second by Councillor Lake. Any errors or omissions to those minutes? Hearing none, call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Right into our student councillors' reports. Councillor Hatton.
So this year, the high school will be starting up yearbooks again for the first time since I looked today and it said 2016, but the last big yearbook was 2002. So it's been quite a while since we've had a yearbook. So they'll be going on sale shortly in July once we have everything ready, and we'll put the link out on Facebook and on websites and stuff so everyone can have a chance to order one if they would like.
Thank you. And that would have been January or July?
July.
July. Councillor Blanchette.
The basketball season for girls have just finished. They traveled to Welland for OFSA and they received the banner. And starting up soon will be the boys basketball and girls volleyball.
Good. Thank you for those reports. Moving right into CR reports. Report on Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation grant. Mr. Soshinsky.
So the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation, NOHFC, was established in 1988 with a mandate to promote and stimulate economic development in Northern Ontario by providing financial assistance to projects that stabilize, diversify, and foster economic growth in the region. NOHFC is an application-based fund whereby projects are submitted to determine their eligibility and then proceed through a rigorous review and approval process. The town currently has one project that has been deemed eligible by NOHFC and approved to be submitted as a Stage 2 application. And the project is the Marathon Terrace Bay Fiber to the Home Internet Community Expansion. And this project will provide internet services that exceed the national policy objective of 50 megabytes per second, minimum download speed, and up to 10 upload speed for Marathon and Terrace Bay residents, and will also provide an infrastructure that is easily scalable for faster speeds without the need for future public funding assistance. T-Baytel, working with Marathon and Terrace Bay, is proposing to provide 5 megabytes to 1 gigabyte access options from which the customer can choose the plan that best suits their needs. Residents and businesses in Marathon and Terrace will also have access to more options for television, voice over IP services over the proposed fiber facilities. The economic development potential of Marathon and Terrace Bay will be enhanced with this project, and these areas will be more attractive for residential and business relocation. As part of the NOHFC submission process, individual projects must have a supporting resolution from council. The proposed financial contributions for this particular project are a conditional contribution from NOHFC, which we're applying for $4.2 million. T-Baytel has committed $3.97 million in cash to the project, and Marathon and Terrace Bay must come up with $253,000 to support the project, which ultimately is $8.45 million. And we're looking for funding assistance from NOHFC of 47.9%. So the municipalities of Marathon and Terrace Bay would each be responsible to provide $126,500 in funding to leverage the additional $8.19 million. Administration is recommending that the town's contribution be taken from any 2019 operating surplus. And your options are A, support the project application to NOHSC, or B, do not support the application. Your administration recommends option A, approving the attached resolution supporting the project application to the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund.
Thank you for that. I do have a motion here that council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation on Northern Ontario Heritage Fund Corporation project funding submissions, broadband, and that council supports the project application to the Northern Ontario Heritage Fund, and further that council approves the funding commitment of $126,500 towards the project from 2019 municipal funds. Moved by Councilor Lake, second by Councilor Valens. Questions? Councilor Lake.
Certainly, those are pretty good numbers to offer up 126,000 and get 8 million back. That I like. I was wondering though. I remember a couple years ago there was that presentation about bringing a server farm to Marathon, and that idea of trying to diversify the economy to get into the STEM kind of areas. Is this the kind of upgrade that would allow that sort of investment in Marathon and that sort of technology to come to town?
Yeah, so this is a true broadband solution, which ultimately, over time, would be able to be scaled to 5G. So certainly, this is what we need if we're going to look at, operating in real time in terms of, internet speeds.
Councilor Debussy.
Okay, so, thank you. So anyways, our contribution to Terrace Bay, we're splitting it in half and half. How scalable is this as a network moving outside of the two communities? I mean, I'm looking at Scriber, which is 7 kilometers away. I'm looking at our neighbors, the Bippigon, and I'm also looking at, say, the Highway 17 corridor. How expandable is that, and what is their buy-in after it? I mean, I understand that we're going to leverage $8 million for our portion, but what is their buy-in? Should we not be contacting the other communities and asking if they wanted to get in ground route, or is Thunder Bay Tel only looking at the two communities right now?
Yeah, the T-Bay Tel, so T-Bay Tel's expanded, they've completed their western expansion. So they've done Dryden, Fort Francis, and Kenora. The only communities they're looking at right now for the east are Marathon and Terrace Bay. And it's really because, we have the economies of scale with the population combined. It's the reason why we're asking for the NOHFC funding assistance is if we receive it, it makes the project fundable and it makes it construction ready from a T-Bay Tel perspective. But Marathon, Terrace Bay, we just meet the threshold in terms of revenue return. So the smaller communities at this point in time aren't included in the eastern expansion.
Anything else? Councilor Valens.
Yeah, Mr. Skorczynski, when we look at job creation to put the project, I'm guessing in the ground, however that plays out, what does that look like? How long from start to finish, and how many jobs are we looking for creation?
So ideally, if we receive funding in 2019, early 2020, the project would be engineered in 2020, shovels in the ground January 2021, and the rollout would happen in the fall of 2021. So from a construction perspective, it'll differ depending on what they're actually doing. For probably 25 to 50 during the term of construction. T-Bay Tel envisions once they expand an office here in Marathon, with the new products and services, it would be 7 new full-time jobs.
Councilor Debussy.
Again, because we have the LNG project also, and from my understanding, we're going to be, I guess, boring under and not trenching. Would this be a comparable project? Because should we not be kind of making or letting these two projects understand that they're going to access the same potential households, and why remobilize the same equipment for the same purposes? Have we thought about moving that forward to the two proponents?
Actually, the majority of Marathon, probably 90% of it, is going to be above ground. So they're going to be utilizing either existing bell poles or existing hydro poles. There's a bit of a lead time to do that, but they don't have to run new infrastructure, they just have to run new cable.
So, a couple quick questions in regards to the surplus, operating surplus. Obviously, there's a contingency in there. If there is no operating surplus of that amount, would be into reserve accounts.
I didn't state the numbers because we don't have them finalized yet, but we certainly know there is going to be surplus numbers based on some of the unforeseen building activity we had this year,
Okay.
as well as some of the waste revenue we generated from the OBP station we didn't envision. So hence the reason why administration
Okay.
listed the surplus.
Sure.
We expect it.
Councilor Lake asked a question in regards to the availability of the cloud space in regards to the servers, if there was an opportunity down the road. I don't know if you clearly answered the question, at least from my point of view, I didn't get a clear answer. So will the availability of the storage facility that could be futurely looked at developing here in Marathon be supplied by the fiber optic cable that they're
Right,
looking at?
so yes, we would have to actually build out any type of storage system, but the
Right.
backbone itself, i.e. the broadband infrastructure.
The highway.
The highway will be put in place
Okay.
with this project.
That's key, that's what I, okay, good.
Yes.
Appreciate that, thanks. So the mover and second is permission, I'll call a question, all in favor? Great, thank you, thanks. Okay, 2019 to 22 strat plan initiative, Mr. Skorczynski.
It's Ms. Lees, your worship?
Oh, sorry, sorry about that.
That's all right. Thank you, Your Worship. In April of 2019, Council adopted Town of Marathon's 2019 to 2022 strategic
Policy,
plan.
yeah.
One initiative of the plan is to review all of the town's bylaws and policies. The Clerk's Department has been given the responsibility for these reviews. The council section of the town's policy guideline manual has 8 policies and 1 guideline. I'm not going to read the policy numbers just because it's going to take too long. So the student counselor policy, CAO performance appraisals, and the pregnancy and parental leave for council members all have been reviewed, and no changes are recommended at this time. Council remuneration and the council recreation discount policies both have wording with regard to council recreation discounts. Administration is recommending the deletion of the council recreation discount policy and update the wording in the council remuneration to include immediate families. Donation and sponsorships was reviewed, and the only change being recommended is to change this policy to a guideline, as it is administrative in nature. The code of conduct and the staff council protocol have been amended with the following changes. So the code of conduct policy has been amended. So a more comprehensive definition section was added, as well as an additional section for complaints, non-compliance, and penalties. In February of this year, Council passed bylaw number 1948, which appointed the municipality's Integrity Commissioner. The Integrity Commissioner inquiry protocol has also been attached to the policy as Schedule B. All changes have been highlighted. The Council staff protocol policy, the changes have been an introduction section was added, and additional definitions were added, and general housekeeping changes. All changes have also been highlighted. The options are to approve the policies as outlined, approve the policies but with amendments, or do not approve the policies. Your administration recommends that option A be selected and that policy C1 be amended to include wording including immediate family. The student counselor, CAO performance appraisal, and pregnancy and parental leave for members of council be marked as reviewed. Donations and sponsorships be changed to a guideline. Policy 7 be deleted, which is the council recreation passes, and the code of conduct be amended by adding more comprehensive definitions, add a complaint, non-compliance, and penalty section, and the inclusion of the Integrity Commissioner inquiry protocol. Council staff protocol policy be amended by adding an introduction section, additional definitions, and general housekeeping changes. Once approved, these policies and guideline will be placed in the town's policy guideline manual.
Good, thank you for that. I do have a motion here, and I will not read all the numbers as well. The council hereby accepts the attached report and recommendation 2019-22 strat plan initiative policy review, council section. That policy number 1 be amended to include wording including immediate family. Policies number 3, student counselor. Number 5, CO performance and appraisal. And policy number 9, pregnancy and parental leave for members of council be marked as reviewed. Policy number 6, donation and sponsorships be changed to a guideline. Policy 7 be deleted. And policy 2, code of conduct be amended by adding more comprehensive definitions to add complaints, non-compliance, penalty sections, and inclusion in Integrity Commissioner's inquiry protocol. And policy 8, council staff protocols be amended by adding the introduction of section additional definitions and general housekeeping changes. And further that, the copies of these policies and guidelines be placed in town's policy guideline. Moved by Councilor DeBouche, second by Councilor Ingram. Questions? None? Everybody's good? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. I have a motion here for the check runs, and check run for the amount of accounts payable, $1,254,921.17, and payroll in the amount of $244,112.91. Moved by Councilor Lake, second by Councilor Jingara. Questions of those check runs? Hearing none, I'll call a question. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And we have some council appointed members to different boards. Update Councilor Valance in regards to the Thunder Bay District Health Unit.
Okay, I got the chamber too on there.
Okay.
Okay, I'll start with the Thunder Bay District Health Unit. So on December 20th, I went up to the November 20th, I went up to the monthly meeting. And on that day, actually, there was the rollout of the Ontario Senior Dental Program. So seniors with low income household incomes, obviously, are eligible now for health dental care under this new program. And we also, at that meeting, passed the budget for 2020. And now with the new modernization conversation and the way the shift the government's going in funding, they're going to a 70-30 model for funding. So that puts 30% of the allocation back onto the municipality for the budget. And with that being said, we passed the motion for a 10% budget increase for this upcoming 2020 year, and that's with no additional funding to programs or anything within the health unit. They were all tasked back to their departments to kind of come back with a zero operating increase. So that's just kind of the way the cookie crumbled, unfortunately, there. And then at the Chamber of Commerce, the last meeting we had early November, there was strong conversation and a good discussion in regards to single-use plastic, how it would roll out and how it would affect the businesses here in town. There are looking at kind of some programs and some ways that they can roll out some ideas to kind of eliminate single-use plastic in the community. And there's also discussion in regards to a Shop Local program that they're hoping to roll out early December for the holiday season. That's that.
Good. Any questions of Councilor Valance on them reports? I have one question in regards to the recycling and the single-use plastics and straws. We talked about it, council, so the chamber's looking at it. They were going to come back and discuss with council. Is there a plan for that in the new year to maybe meet with council? And also with the presentation we had at Thunder Bay District in discussion with Eco Superior, has there been opportunities to meet with them?
Yeah, so that's what the discussion was. We let them know that Eco Superior is there and they are a strong ally in regards to any initiatives that they would want to roll out. There has been no discussion in regards to bringing back what they're looking at doing with council, but we can definitely make that happen. And from the ideas that were being thrown out at the meeting, they are really good, and I think it's going to give the entrepreneurs, the business community, a strong chance to kind of gain feedback and kind of do a soft launch, see what it really looks like. Start with one outlet or avenue or item to kind of see about eliminating, and then how successful that is, and then moving forward from there. So,
Good.
Yep.
Thank you. So up next, we have Councilor Jingral will provide a verbal upgrade in the library board.
Okay, so our last couple of council meetings, we've had some different library comments or questions come up. So those were addressed at our last library meeting. So one was about trying some Saturday hours. Now, the chairs reminded me they did do those hours about 2 years ago. They would open for about 3 hours Saturday mornings. They had very, very little attendance. And with the shortage on staffing, they're not looking at changing hours at the moment, though they will revisit in the new year again once staffing has become a little more stabilized. So right now they're they're in the hiring process for a casual, which is who would most likely have to take on those Saturday hours. So until they're fully trained and able to work those hours on their own, it's not feasible right now. The other thing we had talked about is the Ontario Library Service North cuts. So those did affect the library. We looked over an initial budget that the library is going to be bringing to budget meetings to council. So the biggest increase to the library budget because of that, the library has cut in different areas to try to keep their overall budget very close to what they've gotten in the past. They will be looking at a small increase from council, and we're looking to meet with the CAO and with Chuck in January to go over those numbers a little bit more closely before those come to council. But just so you guys are aware, there probably will be a small increase in that budget that they'll be looking for. Couple other things that came from that meeting is that library usage has been up, and their big reasoning is because of the manor being right there. People from the manor have been walking over to the library, and they've seen some increased usage from there. So that's been a nice bonus from that. And they've been working on the Flip Give fundraising campaign. So again, for those of you guys who are doing your Christmas shopping, it's a great time of year to go on there. It's really easy. You even do it from an app. You sign into your app, go to your online shopping, and it'll give a percentage of that to the library. So they're up to $138 so far from that program. Cost you nothing from your shopping. Just a percentage goes to the library instead of to Amazon or to wherever it would have went to anyways. And I think that's everything.
Good, thank you. Anybody have any questions, Councillor Ingber? Councillor Valens?
Yeah, Councillor Gingras, is there any opportunity for the library to post if there's any local businesses that, like Canadian Tire, if you shop online at Canadian Tire, anything that we could kind of put out to the public, or that they could put out to the public that would say, hey, these people are involved with that initiative and you can also shop online but still support shopping local?
Yeah, so I will get the library to check into it. I think it's mostly actually Mitchell who's taking care of that program.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, I think it's mostly only shopping online, but
So I'm actually just working on a poster right now. I'm planning to put it up on Tuesday. So there's Mobile, Canadian Tire. I believe the grocery store has it online as well. So there's multiple businesses in town that I'll put on the poster and put it on Facebook for everyone.
Good, thanks. Anything else? Councillor Lake?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think about the manor. That's actually a really sweet story about how it's increased usership. I remember when I was on library board a million years ago, Laurie Kniff used to deliver books for the library. Is there, I know, I'm just worried about that winter season kind of traveling. Is there a way to get books to?
so there was a little bit of discussion about
Okay.
how we could work more with that group.
Or even like a little satellite library mobile thing in the manor. That might be a nice partnership there.
Yeah, so I can bring that up again for further discussion at our next meeting, but that was brought up already, is how to build that partnership and keep it going through the winter months.
Anything else? I just have one comment, back to the library board. I know the members are here as well. As the Saturday and the 1 or 2 evenings during the week was really a hot point from council's view to look at opportunity for the community to use the facility. So I just encourage the library board to revisit those and maybe shifting the hours and closing 1 or 2 mornings or something
So
that
they
they see is
have been
really
opening
slow,
evenings.
and looking at that the evenings and weekends, because I think there is potential for use in the evenings and as well as weekends. I know you're doing some evenings right now, but I think the Saturday is really key as well. I've heard from people who would like to use Saturday mornings as well at the library. Just a thought you can have for discussion.
Okay.
Thank you. Council Lake, update on DSAP.
Well, it sounds like the theme is small increases for the municipality, so here's another one. And it does feel like so many of these organizations right now, with changes in funding, are looking to pass things on to the municipality. DSAB is no different. As funding is shifting, the board did, I think, a good job. They reduced the budget by almost $3 million which still results in a 1% increase for the levy to municipalities. The nice thing about the board is there does seem to be a great desire to keep the levy down. As some of the programming rolls out this year, and that was our big discussion at the DSAB, that there may be programs that are no longer offered or that the DSAB's going to have to step back from. So it was a lively discussion that ended in a 1% increase. So it felt like not a lost cause.
Good. Any questions, Councillor Lake, on DSAB? None? Oh, fine. Okay. Councillor Debussy, update on the museum board.
Thank you, Mitchell. Yeah, we had the library board meeting and some of the discussions were held. There's going to be a request moving forward for an AAD, or automatic defibrillator for the museum. There was also discussion for planning for the 2020 Glenn Fromm Douglas exhibit. The Thunder Bay Art Gallery is interested in displaying a significant amount of his works. So that'll be moving forward. Oh, shoot, it just closed. That'll be moving forward as part of a budget deliberation. There was some discussion about the TUG movement plan, and there was some discussion of the budget that will be presented to council's consideration for 2020. Okay.
Any questions of Councillor Debussy? So the theme is increase. Is the museum looking for an increase as well?
Yeah, to help fund the exhibit portion, and that's a good payback from the community's standpoint and for the Historical Society, is that the prints will be matted, framed, and displayed in April, I believe, in the Thunder Bay Museum for a month, showcasing the work and the photographs that were taken around the Marathon area. And then after their exhibit, they return back to the museum. So it is a win-win situation for the municipality. It provides that exposure and that's kind of history behind Marathon. And then we get the prints back, which will be professionally matted and mounted. So, and again, it could be displayed throughout the community or at the, Historical Society.
Good.
Sort of like the old beer store map that's still up.
Anything else? Okay, thanks everybody for the reports. We have under new business, a request received from the Thunder Bay Health Coalition seeking support of a resolution in regards to the closure and local health services being cut. And further, that a copy of this motion be forwarded to the individual listed on the originating resolution. I see a mover in a second to put on the floor. Councillor Debussy, Councillor Lake. And the motion, as everybody has an opportunity to read, it was in regards to the closures of several health-related facilities. Public health provides vital health promotion and prevention services based on the unique demographics and economic, social, cultural needs in our communities. As the evidence is the hospital amalgamations in Ontario and across Canada is that they have cost billions of dollars and have not yet yielded promises of administrative savings but it has undertaken money away from the frontline care. And whereas there is no evidence to support the proposed closure of 25 of the 35 local public health units, the closure of 12 of the 22 local ambulance dispatch centers, and the closure of 49 out of the 59 local ambulance services. And whereas there is a deep consensus among virtually all stakeholders that increasingly acutely in our long-term care homes with additional staff, resources, not cancellation of 2 special funds, and real dollar cuts per diem funding of our long-term care homes. And whereas the local hospitals have been downsized for the entire generation and cannot meet the population needs while sustaining real dollar cuts to a hospital's global budgets. Therefore, be resolved, Town of Marathon, the Council of the Town of Marathon calls upon the Ontario government to halt closures of these mergers and cuts to our local healthcare services, including public health units, land ambulances, and hospitals and long-term care homes. Anybody got any comments before I call the question on that motion, resolution? Councillor Debussy?
These cuts have happened. Do they want us, or do they really think that this government is going to reverse their decision on these things? I mean, from the perspective of the DSAP, which provides some kind of, I'll say, preventative issues as well as the health unit, do they really believe that this government's going to roll back the cuts and closures of these facilities?
Well, the thing is we know that the government has proposed those cuts, and you're right, they haven't all taken place to date. They're in the process. whether this will have any impact on the discussion. I know Roma's coming up in January. Municipalities as well as NOMAs and FNOMs will take this, as well as Roma. The organization of Roma will also bring this to the attention of the government. So what will that have? I think it's all impactful on what the government sees as municipalities' concerns. Councillor Lake?
My only issue with the kind of the resolution is that it's so many things. I certainly Councillor Valens sits on public health, so he would have a better sense of whether that's a good thing or a bad thing to amalgamate public health units. But we're talking about care homes, we're talking about, I just didn't feel like I have the understanding. I generally assume that cutting is bad to social services, but I don't know if having them all together, it feels a little overwhelming to say yes or no to all of them, was my only sort of reticence around this particular resolution.
Here comes Councillor Valens.
I guess just to kind of rebuttal what Councillor Lake said, I think it's a terrible idea considering our geographical area. There's no way we can amalgamate all public health agencies into, or boards into one, and be able to still service the amount of residents and constituents we have throughout the whole north of Ontario. So yeah, am I allowed to even pass the motion, or
Absolutely, yeah,
just because of my seat? Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no conflict there. Councillor DeWucci.
I understand that issue, but I mean, from the perspective of Northern Ontario, we've never had second-tier governments, okay? We've always been single-tiered, so it's every little community wants that piece of the issue because it's professionals. These are usually highly paid professionals. In other communities where some of these closures are going to partake, they have second-tier governments that do basically the job of municipalities, but over a county base as opposed to municipal base. So from the perspective of, I'll say the Thunder Bay District, from my understanding, there's 19 communities in it. They all have representation. Is it not, and I know from administrative portion, you've got Rainy River with their 16 communities, you've got Kenora with their 11. Each one has a representative on those boards. Would it not make sense for the North of Superior to have 4 members, and then Rainy River to have 4 members, so that the administrator from the administrative side and from the, I'll say, executive side, at least it's pared down. When 2/3 of our Ontario budget is healthcare and education, this is the only place they're going to cut that's going to have any kind of substantial impact on their deficit reduction. And by no means am I a fan of these cuts, but it's a reality that they may need to re-envision on how the services are rendered, or at least how it's represented.
Okay. Absolutely, Councillor Valens.
So just a quick question to really anyone who could be able to answer it, even administration maybe. So if they're taking money away from public health and taking from that pot, won't the pot for hospitals and that kind of sector just grow? Because with preventative health care stopping or putting roadblocks to those people actually having to go to the hospital and stuff like that, doesn't the money just shift from one pot to the other one? Or am I just...
So I think what's happening is overall they were trying to reduce costs in all aspects, but I think your valid point prior to that comment of Councillor DeBoucher was simply that we live in a vast geographic area. It doesn't make any sense to reduce the health unit systems in the Northwest or most of the Northeast because of the distance between our communities. The Rainy River, Kenora, and Thunder Bay districts are there's like a 10-hour drive between Kenora and here to go to look at that and reducing that to one unit and having it either in Thunder Bay. It doesn't make sense. In Southern Ontario, as county governance and locations and the distance between communities, it makes all the sense in the world to have amalgamations, but not here. I think that's the argument. NOMA's been arguing that point more than anything in regards to the distance to the size of Northwestern and Northeastern Ontario. So in support of this, the letter itself is a little bit messy, but the reality is the message is there. They have to look at the province as a individual locations, case-by-case scenario. So the Northeast and Northwest and Southern and Southeast and Southwest and Southern Ontario have to be looked at differently as well. So we've been arguing that point. We'll bring that to the ministers' meeting at Roma, the same argument. But you're right, it's happening, so the voice might not be heard. Councillor DeBoucher.
Just a question then, from the Thunder Bay District situation. From my understanding, there's Kenora, Rainy River, and Thunder Bay. Then there's Algoma.
Well,
And-
Sulaco is part of the.
The north,
the
though.
north,
They
but
take care of all the north, and
Yes.
that's why they're the hub for the, I guess, above tree line or issues. But there's 4 health units in or 5 if you count Sault Ste. Marie and Algoma. They are proposing the one for the all of Northern Ontario, correct?
Well, sorry, we don't know what the proposal is. They're looking at
Okay.
reductions, so.
Okay,
until
so
we
our
s-
fear then, or the fear behind this is that they only want one district for the whole area.
That's what we hear in the rumblings, but the reality is until we get the actual facts. We just keep arguing the fact that the geographic size is too big to reduce the health units from the northwest down to 1 unit.
okay.
Doesn't make sense, sure.
Your worship, sorry. I could already, in good faith, from what I've seen being on the Board of Health, the Thunder Bay District Health Unit is the most underfunded of all of the health units in Northern Ontario. So we get the less and to do with, from what everyone, like they broke it down for all of us and everything, and we were the most underfunded, so. And, yeah.
Okay, so we have agencies working on this on the outside. We can also bring the same argument to the Roma to conference to meet with the ministers if council so chooses, but I think it's better to leave it in Phenom, NOMA, and go with that avenue with this argument. With that being said, I'll call the question with the permission of the mover and seconder to, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, carried. Thank you. So up next, I have a motion here that council hereby supports the attached resolution received by the town of Whitchurch, Stouffville pertaining to the ban on single-use disposable wipes, and further that a copy of the motion be forwarded to individuals listed on the originating resolution. Moved by Council Lake, seconded by Council DeBouchy, and I'll just quickly highlight the resolution that's in front of us, and it's basically, as you know, is a single-use wipes that we use mostly probably for our hands or our children's rears, that these things go into our toilets, into our sewer systems, and clog up our systems. So they're very costly to the systems, and the impact it has on our waste diversion. So there's a bunch of whereases, but the reality is municipal enforcement sewer use group estimates that non-flushable materials cause about $260 million in annual repairs across Canada. Can't break it down to Marathon specifically, but there's an impact to all of our communities going into the system. Okay, any questions on that? Councilor DeBouchy.
When I had when we toured the water treatment plant, I remember, and years ago, and since I've been here for a while, chem wipes were the big problem because people were flushing chem wipes or that kind of sturdy paper products down the drains. Are we experiencing problems with that kind of backflow of materials in our system? It's ongoing, but we deal with it. We do a lot more maintenance than we used to.
Okay. So our works manager just explained that there is an increased cost. We do have ongoing maintenance, taking care of those things, but they are a problem. So I think council, from a maintenance point of view, it's a simple resolution that can be discussed throughout the province. There's other products. Face cloth works well, and soap and water, so. Okay? All in favor? Opposed? Carried, thank you. Okay, so, there's additional confirmation on the pesticide use annual report to be received to all members of council. Any questions on that? Hearing none. We have our Christmas parade coming up on December the 1st, Sunday. Starts at the high school, goes over to the arena, down to Lakeview. Pre-parade, there's some activities at the arena. That'll all be posted in the town's website as well as in the paper tomorrow. There's some pre-activities at the arena and upstairs. And some swimming and skating and some activities for the children there. But the parade is on Sunday at 5 o'clock. Councilor Lake?
I just remember last year we talked about, the one thing that the council was sort of interested in was music playing during the parade. Did we ever locate any kind of a music system that could play music kind of while the parade's going on? We talked about that last year.
Mr. Skorchinski?
I honestly would have to look into that. I certainly can do that tomorrow.
Okay, so, anybody got we got that?
We bought 2 Bluetooth speakers.
That was good.
On our
Perfect, so the comment from Ms. Goodchild, was that we have 2 Bluetooth speakers that will be playing music for Santa Claus himself on the float. Okay, so that's happening this Sunday. I hope everybody comes out and attends and support the 30th. 30th? Oh, yeah, and the holiday train as well that day. Thank you very much, Mr. Cresswell. We have the holiday train coming in that day as well at 12:45, I believe, at the Curling Club building across from the sports, right outside the sports center on Stevens Avenue. And that'll be a great activity as well. So bring your food for your food bank donation, as well as any cash you might have in your pocket, as there's always a cash donation. We like to see people donate to that as well. Councillor Lake.
And I'm trying to recall, but didn't we get information from the food bank that they've gone to cards now? So that instead of perishable goods, probably cash is the best thing to bring for the food bank.
They're still taking cans,
They are
canned
still-
goods,
okay.
but just the dollars are used for perishables for sure, the cards. Okay, anything else? So with that being said, we do have an in-camera meeting directly following this open public meeting to talk about labor relations and employee negotiations. So with that being said, I'll adjourn this meeting at 7:43 PM. Moved by Councillor Vallon, second by Councillor Lake. Thank you and have a good night.